when we talk about Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens having the impact on the political right, particularly the populist America First political right, that they have, when they speak, people listen. When it comes to the progressive left, when Hasan Piker speaks, people listen. That's why this commentary created such controversy in the last 2 days.
Disappointed in
Who
Gavin
do you vote
Newsom.
for, J.D. Vance or Gavin Newsom?
Well, I'd have to vote for Gavin Newsom,
Me
of course,
too.
100%.
I wouldn't blink.
No
What
doubt.
about you, Hasan?
I'd probably vote third party.
There it is. See, these two people just revealed exactly who they are. If you are still voting the lesser of two evils, you are missing the entire point of the problem. You're not getting it. You're just not getting it. And then what you're doing is you're wasting all of your time trying to do something to then just go right back into the problem. Why? That's cowardice. It's also, I would say, at least in these people's parts, total privilege. This is an extremely privileged person right here.
Jennifer Welch is the lady that we've talked about. This is the woman who had a show, I believe, on Bravo, which was some type of I think it was like a home restoration program out of Oklahoma City.
I don't remember her, and I'm like an HGTV like regular.
Well, this is the lady that I pointed out with her podcast partner was so gleeful about going to the Democratic convention in Chicago. Didn't say a word about the Palestinian protesters outside.
She's a shill. So continue this.
Yeah.
Let's get through this.
You would?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't even matter. Like, because my policy on this is the same as like my refusal to endorse Kamala Harris. The reason why I did not endorse Kamala Harris was because she did things that were not only unproductive, but also unconscionable. And I still stand on that. I still talk about it all the time because people constantly bring it up. They're like, you didn't sufficiently like promote Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. And I'm like, I am incapable. There is no singular force in this country that is capable of making or breaking an election. And if that was real, then it is the most idiotic thing not to listen to my demands. But everybody knows that that's not real, right?
Mm-hmm.
They always have to have a scapegoat. And the one thing that does not change when it comes to the Democratic Party is this, ladies and gentlemen. The Democratic Party primary is rigged. It is rigged from top to bottom, not just at the presidential level, but at all levels. That's how the party maintains its fiefdom. That's how somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz still sits in Congress. Do you think for 1 second that a party, unlike the GOP, the party in question, the Democrats, have super delegates? Do you think that they're just going to arbitrarily give those up? Do you think they're getting rid of their safety valve? That if, God forbid, any candidate, and let's be fair, even if it's AOC or Ro Khanna that is going to run in the progressive lane, they are, with all due respect, paperweights. They will crumble like a cheap suit when push comes to shove. They are never going to outright say the United States as a whole must do away with the state of Israel, that capitalism is broken and can't be fixed. Heck, Ro Khanna does insider trading through his wife. And I think Ro's done a decent job as of late. But this is not about friendships. This is about being honest about our situation. And our situation, as Hasan Piker is putting it, is, honestly, I don't give a shit who you put up on the Democratic side.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, please let this play because it's late and it's late.
If I had this singular force to be able to make Kamala Harris the president, then Kamala Harris should be coming to me every day and being like, let me do a collab with you, please.
Totally.
Right? That's not the case, of course. And they know it. That's why they didn't do it. But the campaigns are always responsible for whether or not they are able to win the crowds, win the population over, and combat against the couch. Not necessarily even against the Republican Party, but usually you're fighting against the couch, people who just don't go out and vote. And for me, the way I see it is if the Democratic establishment makes this decision one more time, just as they did with Hillary Clinton, just as they did with Kamala Harris, and in some ways, just as they did with Joe Biden as well, which led to Trump too, then they just don't care. And there's not much I can do.
Let me
beyond
tell you
that.
something. I agree with everything you say, but as a person who lived in a red state for 50 years, I would crawl through 10 feet of concrete to vote for Gavin Newsom, even though I think he's duplicitous, a hypocrite, a thirst trap, hungry for power, all of the things that you
But
say.
I'd crawl through concrete to vote for him. The only thing you left out there, dumb bitch, is we don't have him on pederast charges yet. But maybe you should add that to your mix and you'd still crawl through concrete to vote for him. What a privileged bitch. I hate when you make me watch this shit.
On top of everything else, Gavin Newsom has been in charge of California and San Francisco for a combined, 15, 20 years? You mean to tell me that he hasn't had people protected that have been to the island, that he hasn't been taking money from the very factions that are involved with the U.S.-Israel relationship, or that all of what is breaking our entire system is responsible? Again, this presumption that Gavin Newsom is the nominee, this is the presumption because the Democratic establishment has already decided that Gavin Newsom is the person they're getting behind. That's Nancy Pelosi's nephew. He is from the,
Sort of, but still from the elitist class. It's the elitist. Facilitate this, please.
It harms the Democratic Party and sets the psychological soil to be more prey to fascism. All of that I agree with. But there are so many young, queer, black, brown, marginalized people in red states.
This lady is so, and what's even more amazing, Jen, is that this is a woman who is being featured prominently by the Democratic Party establishment as a primary voice to be.
So why do you think? How is it that anybody would think she's any different than the Pod Save guys or the Midas Touch guys? She's on the payroll for the Democrats.
And she's the quintessential wine mom, which is who the party caters to in the first place. They do not cater to working people at all. They cater to very affluent, comfortable suburbanites like her. That's who they're trying to appeal to.
And this is why they will continue to lose until they are non-existent. This is why, because people like her, and this is a seemingly less offensive white woman than others,
Sure.
But it's people like her that are the reason why we can't have nice things. And she doesn't even know it. She thinks that she's helping the situation. She really does. This is a vagina hat wearer.
Oh, yeah.
She thinks she's helping the situation. Instead, she's being condescending and elitist and not doing anything to help the situation. But she believes that she knows better from her privileged position to tell other people that in some way that would benefit her, Gavin Newsom is more palatable than the alternative. Think about, like, in what way would that be? Again, only that he hasn't been brought up as far as I know in the Epstein files. I don't see how anything separates him from any of these other pieces of shit.
Well, the other thing that I really wish people would understand is that they're still doing the thing. They're doing the thing. They're doing
No, I don't know the thing. I know that she is a tool for the Democrats. That's what I know.
My point is that they're doing the thing that they always do. The presumption already 3 years out that Gavin Newsom is not only the nominee, but that you have to vote for him. And not only do you have to vote for him, you have to concede everything to him. You cannot make any demands. You are just going to crawl on hot coals and broken glass to get to the polls and vote for Gavin Newsom, because somehow, some way, we might get stuck with J.D. Vance, who's probably exactly the same.
Noah, no opinion. You guys should invite her onto your show. She means well. She might mean well, Noah. She might. I don't think I'm quite the hand holder that she might need. And I'm thinking that I might not be exactly the right person for that job. We're not soft and friendly here. I have very little tolerance for elitist people, and especially white women. I just do. It's like fingernails on the blackboard just listening to her.
And I am going to say something, and I'm going to be very clear about this. If you go to the roughest and toughest neighborhoods in the United States, red state, blue state, it doesn't matter, where the people are struggling the most that this white savior is talking about, who do you think runs these communities? These are almost 1,000% Democrat run. That is a fact. This is not up for debate. And the fact that she talks like this because she doesn't like the fact that she lives in a state like Oklahoma, hey, that's your choice. And I agree that Oklahoma is a state with maybe some of the darkest history in our nation's, in the history of our nation. When you think about it, Oklahoma's really bad, especially in terms of what they did to the natives of this country, in terms of what they do as far as fracking is concerned. Oklahoma.
I am now in Marjorie Taylor Greene's former district. Okay. I understand what it's like to be somewhere red. And it's actually quite nice when you're not a condescending elitist like her.
And this is also, and you also take it a step further, and why the shift that has happened between the two parties is so distinct. The Democrat, as I said, the Democratic Party establishment, their first priority when it comes to their voting base, they claim that it's for the black vote. No, their first priority is the white, liberal, suburbanite, urban dwelling voter.
Because that's who comes out and votes consistently.
And has money.
Yes.
Has money. And that's it. That's all that matters to them.
Right, finish it up. Finish it up with this one. Please.
And even though this corporate Democrat is, you see it in a long-term game. In the short-term game, a President Newsom over a President J.D. Vance.
Is what, lady?
What?
What do you think that would be? Say it with your horsey face. It wouldn't be different. You just would feel better. You would feel more comfortable in your estate. You would feel good in your little privilege bubble, because then you would feel that things are good again, because somebody that you consider to be more civilized is now doing all of the shit. They're just doing it with a smile on their face, and they look a lot more suave doing it. And maybe he's not a sex couch person. I don't know, but it's still not going to, really? See, this is where that woman is not, I cannot take her seriously now.
This is the problem that you have to understand, because what people are failing to recognize is that Hillary Clinton is a sociopath. I'm not saying that Gavin Newsom is a sociopath, but here's what I can assure you, that whether she's in office or Gavin Newsom is in office, there is going to be very little difference, and I mean very little difference, between the two. So when you say, I regret voting for Hillary Clinton, do you regret voting for Joe Biden? Because we saw what Joe Biden unleashed on this country. So
wait. She says she regrets voting for Hillary over Bernie.
No,
is that what we're saying?
I don't know if that yeah, I need more context in that. I don't know for sure if that's the reason or not. But at the end of the day, they're always going to revert back to what they know best. They will be defiant. They will say that they're not going to do something. Maybe a candidate will come along that entices them for a little while. But when you get right down to it, this is why people prefer the GOP to the Democrats, because in the GOP, they allow their people to decide who their nominee is in every single race.
Even when they don't like it and they go with it. But coming to the conclusion now, again, so now what you're saying is she is the epitome of these people that I've been speaking of, that in 2016 would not get behind the actual person that we had a chance to beat Trump with, right? Exactly. She wouldn't get behind him then, but she'll get with Bernie now. So she is exactly one of those types of libs that was all pro-Hillary and now finally realizes, maybe Bernie was the compromise. Too late, bitch. Too late. That ship sailed. So now she's with Hillary or with AOC and Bernie. And the problem is that group of people like her is too small now, because the people that were with Bernie, like us, we're not there. We're not waiting for you. We stopped waiting for you. We're now left of you. And so now you're standing there holding what you think is progressive, except for there's a handful of people there that just recently hung up their vagina hats. Yeah, no, that's not going to help us, lady. You're too late. We're on to something else now.
And we're on to a point where if you are not speaking of revolution in some context as a national figure, then get the hell out of the way. What else could you possibly expect in a system that is breaking at the seams? People don't believe in the system anymore. And you're asking them, no, Ron, I think Ron was communicating with somebody in the chat.
No, he's just in general. I'm incorrect. Lesser evilism is precisely what has kept pushing things further and further to the right. Yes, encouraging the ruling class to go even. Yes, that's why voting of the lesser evils is actually useless. There's no point. You're still pushing the window further to the evil. So what difference does it make? Again, anybody who says they regret voting for Hillary but is now saying they would vote for Gavin Newsom, she learned nothing. If she were one of my children, she'd have to probably write a report about her decision as to why I'd be giving her an assignment like I used to give to Reese when
if Jennifer Welch was not an op for the Democratic establishment, and kudos to, and listen, give kudos where it's due to Hasan Piker for making that statement. But the one thing I will say about Jennifer Welch, if she was not an op for the Democratic establishment, you know what she would do? Because she has a lot of influence. She has a podcast with over 1 million subscribers, and it's boosted and pumped by the Democratic establishment, which we know would end the second that she got out of line. But let's just assume that she had even an inkling of an independent streak in her to actually do the right thing. If she came out and said, you know, if the Democrats do not become a radical, populist, anti-Israel party, I think I'm going to have to vote for the Green or the Libertarian Party, because at least there I know it's much more likely that that's what's going to happen. That's
okay.
That's
So T Mac Divine, Peter, we do not need gossip. These are not revolutionary topics. While I do agree with you, one of our jobs here, like I said before, is media literacy and explaining to people like who's compromised, why they're compromised, why they're not reliable, who they're in bed with, and trying to build coalitions with the people that we are on the same team with. So while it does seem gossipy, I think it's important for people to know that these so-called newly woke, oh, I shouldn't have voted for Hillary, they really still don't get it. They still don't get it. They're just simply trying to feel better about where we are right now and be like, oh, okay, I get it now. Too late.
So let's talk to our resident Black friend of the show who is in Las Vegas. Remember, the Nevada primary the Nevada caucus is a pretty consequential caucus. It comes at the beginning. You have a big say in who ends up as potentially as the nominee, or at least gets the momentum. What you end up doing and saying, well, maybe because Newsom is the best choice at the moment, who's better? Well, first of all, Newsom is not a good choice if you know anything about his record in California. And number two, there's going to be, if we're being realistic about how many people are going to run in the Democratic Party for president in 2028, what would you venture, Jen? At least a dozen people are going to do it. You're going to have at least 6 or 7 governors that are going to do it. Andy Beshear, possibly, who I think in terms of a milquetoast, leaning left, not as corrupt governor that you could find, and he represents a red state, he's probably the best option. I have to really see him in the
hold on a second, because I have to get people under control in this situation, because at the end of the day, what people are bickering back and forth about this thing with Jennifer Welch is that she's against Israel, she's for Palestinians, so we're not going to agree on everything. That's fine. That's great. That's great. But at the end of the day, if she is ushering people back into the duopoly, then all of the other stuff doesn't matter, because it will never get taken care of that way. So it really doesn't matter if she is anti-Israel, if she is still going to usher people back into the duopoly that is completely controlled by the Zio state. So her having good intentions, it's like she's willing to put her neck out a little bit, but if it gets a little too scary, I'm coming right back. That's not it.
Not going to work. It hasn't before. It won't now. And how many different ways to Sunday can the party show you that you will get screwed in the end and that no revolutionary change is coming? You are never going to get single-payer healthcare. You are never going to get universal education. You are never going to get a clean environment. You are never going to get the end of the state of Israel. You are never going to have the ability to drink clean water and have clean air. You are never going to have an economic system where your dollar is worth what it should be worth. You think that's going to happen in the Democratic Party? We are we have been past the point of revolution for over a decade. When Bernie Sanders was screwed out of the nomination in 2016, and he was screwed out of that nomination, that was the time when revolution needed to happen. We have been kicking the can down the road for a decade, past that point. That point where it was obvious we needed the change. We were not willing to go for it. And people that are trying to like come to the party now they're way too late. And not only are they too late, they're still trying to figure out a way to get you back in. They're still trying to play that game.
Problem. Right. So this isn't agree to disagree.
They're playing that game, and I could give you a myriad of reasons why you shouldn't go with it. Just remember this one rule above all other rules: they have super delegates in that party that are all part of the corporate special interest establishment, and they have one rule and one job: ensure that whoever is the nominee is part of that class. That's it. That's their job. And if Gavin Newsom is the person, this is why they're already talking about him. This is why the Neera Tandons of the world are putting out the word. Gavin Newsom's the nominee. Don't get in our fucking way. Have everybody out there, including Jennifer Welch, who pretends like she's not part of the establishment, suggest that, he's really not what I want, but I will crawl over hot coals and broken glass to vote for him.
What the fuck? And David Hunter is correct. She's controlled opposition. And that would be, and for me, that would be generous.